Good morning. Good morning. Wow, we are live. Okay. It's been a while since I've done a live one. So this should be pretty fun. I just thought I would get out this morning. I got my half Ironman coming up on Sunday. So I'm not working out this morning. So I thought I would take a little bit of extra time, talk about a few things, and a few people have been wondering about how to make a little more extra money. Totally understandable, especially in the circumstances these days. I mean, with everything in society and inflation and just the way things are kind of going, I think it's very important. It's a good subject to talk about. And by the way, like I'm a big believer in having a great balanced life. I love health, relationship, and I prioritize those a lot more, health and relationships, but money's very important. And if you have more money, you can do more things and you can give to more people, which I really strongly believe in. So hope this helps. And I hope this really benefits other people's careers. So let's talk about this. How do you guys make a little bit more money in cyber sales or tech sales or just sales in general? We could talk, it's a little bit of everything. It is a bit more focused today on cyber sales, but we'll talk a little bit about that. So, number one, but by the way, if this is your first time to the channel, we talk about everything kind of career wise, especially in the tech world. We help you prepare. If you guys want, I offer some free resumes. You can check out the description. It's completely free. You kind of copy and paste. I have some premium stuff too, but check out also some of those and the recommended, kind of courses or programs that I've seen that actually offer job placement and have some pretty good tutorials too. Okay, so let's talk about number one. So number one, the first tip I can recommend is you need to understand your sales cycle. Okay. If you don't know what a sales cycle is, this is a big vocabulary word that you should start to instill on kind of the entire routine from start to finish on what a sales cycle is. How is the lead generated? What is the demo stage like? What is the, answering questions, overcoming objections? What is the closing stage? What is the onboarding for the other person? And you should understand with your company how long the duration is, what are the components of each. And you need to really always find out kind of where the friction is, where the funnel is that things are kind of getting locked up. There's no such thing as a perfect one. And the ones that do actually are the ones that scale the most. So you want to make sure you're understanding your sales cycle. Some people, it's a week. Other people, I talked to Ryan Freese yesterday, and we were talking about like some big deals, take a few months. Some of the deals that I do take about a month to 2 months. So you got to understand your sales cycle, where it is, how long it takes, what's the average for your company, and how you compare. Okay. And then whatever component is taking the longest, look at ways to constantly improve that area. If you understand the metrics of each component, say it's like the sales funnel, I have 100 leads coming in. Okay. And then I'm getting 20% of those to go to demo stage. Out of those 20%, I'm getting 5% go to closing stage. If you understand kind of the funnel going in, then you can understand like how many numbers I have to hit to get to an increase in sales or to decrease the amount of time in the sales cycle. So understanding each component and then understanding the metrics of each component, conversion rates of each will allow you to identify where the sticking points are. What is going right and the other ways that you can get better. So some things to think about. Let's talk a little bit about also certifications. So if you guys haven't checked it out yet, I made a whole thing on, oh wait, no, I haven't. I haven't uploaded it yet. I made it yesterday. There's a whole thing on sales certifications that I created. It's a whole video. I talk a little bit about it. The long and short of it is that there's certain certifications that can definitely up your game. So for example, there's certified kind of sales executive certifications if you're in a big company. This is very, very good. It identifies you as a sales trainer and gives you a little bit more authority. There's also Salesforce certifications in sales. And I would only recommend going this road if you're actually in like kind of going Salesforce or into some cloud-based system. Those are really, really good and can really, separate you from the pack. If I'm as a hiring manager, if I see those type of certifications that are much more on an enterprise and executive level, it stands out to me. So kind of be aware, like if you have some executive or sales coaching certifications, those look really, really well on the resume. They stand out to me. I'm not saying that having certifications is usually better than not having certifications. Use your own best judgment. So look at those things, and also having kind of cross functional skill sets with your certifications. So I talked to Ryan yesterday, and we were talking about Careerist, where they talk about sales engineering, and that's a great certification to have. Very few people have it. So having something that's not the usual, something that makes you stand out. And I'm not saying get like 50 certifications. Okay. You only need like 1 to 3 tops. So 1 to 3 of those can really actually boost your resume, and also can command a higher salary and can be negotiating power for getting more money in whatever job you are. And usually you actually, if you have those certifications, you get better clients because they're going to be tossing you better leads, and better leads, better commissions, and a faster sales cycle. So things to think about. All right. Got that out of my system. I've never had too much caffeine, I know. Let's talk about the next thing. You want to understand your follow-up formula. Okay. So there's a great book, old school book, called How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success Through Selling by Frank Becker. And it's a great old school book. This guy was a salesperson back in the 20s. And he talked about this is things. I think you should always learn new techniques, but don't forget on all the old school universal truths of selling that kind of brought everybody to success in the old days. Because those are, you could go to any industry and be successful in sales if you study that. So one of the things he talked about is the follow-up formula. The follow-up formula is, they always also talk about, I think online, the fortune is in the follow-up. You have to make sure you follow up. You have to follow up. It's very easy to just like, oh, this person's not interested, and you ghost them. And a lot of sales happen on the follow-up. And by the way, if you're job hunting, you should use this technique as well. You should be following up with, potential companies, your prospects, your leads, and following up with the hiring manager. And I mean, follow up, forever, really. And for like, not all the time, but you do it like every 3 months or something like that, as a way of maintaining a good network. Going back to sales, you want to measure how many people close on certain follow-ups. There's certain products that will close on the first follow-up. There's other products that usually will close on the 7th follow-up. So over like your first year, you're kind of, you're making sense of it all. You're learning about the industry. You're learning about the company. You're learning about the product. You're learning about what works for you as a salesperson, as a cyber salesperson. And you want to make sure that you're keeping metrics on like, hey, which one of these is it the third follow-up that's I'm closing the most? I see a huge uptick on my closing rate at like the third or fourth follow-up. There's an old saying that if somebody says no, they have to be exposed to the idea at least 7 times before they convert to a yes. So that's why on average, it takes about 7 follow-ups. Funny enough, I read another book where this was same with first impressions, which I found very interesting. It's like the same idea because you're selling your first impression. If you make a bad negative first impression, it takes 7 times to kind of change that person's image of you into a good positive one. Same thing with sales. So if you get rejection, and this is something also when you're approaching anxiety or rejection or your fear of rejection, all those things, be aware that you're gonna get more no's, but those no's can turn into yeses down the road if you have enough patience and you have enough gumption to kind of keep moving forward, and you don't take it personally. Okay. Also, maybe the product's just not right for them. I don't take it that personally. The products I promote do believe that they are great, amazing products. But if somebody doesn't see it eye to eye, it's great. I'm going to do light, gentle follow-ups and touch-ups, but I don't feel any it's not an attack on me. You're kind of a broker. You're supposed to be a good communicator on just offering, hey, this is one solution that I think can help you. Okay. So understand your follow-ups and know the metrics of the follow-ups and keep track of that. This will increase your closing rates. More closing rates, more money. Okay. All right. This is a fun subject that I really want to talk about. Number 4. And I don't know, I try to keep track of numbers and then I lose. I have no idea. Number 15, number 4. Okay. look within your company. When I was doing my MBA, funny enough, I was actually at a conference in Berlin when this was suggested. This guy was a CEO of like 4 different companies. And I thought this was very, very powerful. A lot of people want to be entrepreneurs, and that's great. You, as a salesperson, you are kind of very entrepreneurial. You're building a book of business. You're always looking at the metrics. You're looking at also ways of improving both yourself as well as your system, your sales system. So it's very, I like to think of it as entrepreneurial. He also talked about ways of making more money in the company is being intrapreneurial. If you never heard of this, that's great. So entrepreneurial, you're building systems, you're building companies, right? It's a little bit more external. You're kind of having the vision. Intrapreneurial is building the company from the inside out. It's identifying departments or skills or needs within the company that are not there yet, and you're adding that value. You're taking initiative. This is a big way also in the one cybersecurity company I was a part of, where I did this because nobody else was doing or had the know-how. And I noticed that our competitors were starting to do this. Great example of this is actually in if everybody ever watched Mad Men, it's a great show. I always enjoyed it. I think his name is Harry. Harry, back in the 60s, was a copywriter. And he noticed, though, that all these other companies had television departments. Their company didn't. And he decided to kind of like take the initiative, like, I want to do the television department. And, Roger, basically, who's the head of the company, told him, okay, you're now the head of the television department. It's all on you. And he built over a year, he built the whole thing into this whole television department. And his career advancement went faster than everybody else's. And I've kind of witnessed that happened to me too, kind of without knowing. But if you look within your company on areas that they're not reaching their full potential, you can identify those things and take it upon yourself, especially if it's something you want to learn. And that's the best way. It's something you want to learn, and it's something that's needed in the company. And you can explain it and sell it to the leadership that, hey, we have to do this too. We have to match this, or this could be a great competitive advantage. If you're able to do that, you get the experience, you learn it at the same time, and usually at the end of the road, you make more money. Okay? So think of also not just being an entrepreneur, but an intrapreneur. How can I build the company from the inside out? What areas needs improvement that somebody doesn't need to ask me to do it. I'm going to kind of take it upon myself and take initiative there. Okay. So I always thought that was a very strong thing. Intrapreneur, entrepreneur and intrapreneur. So also you want to make sure that you're following up. This side note, you want to make sure that you're having these talks with your supervisor at least every 3 months. Have a regular check-in where you're both checking in on like how your progress is, your career trajectory, everything like that. You want to be doing that on a quarterly basis. Ideally, if depends on the size of the company, I get it. If you're with like a 10,000 person company, this is harder, but you're meeting also with the CEO one-on-one at least once a year. And I think that's going to be very, very powerful. You want to have that one-on-one time. Not too much, but not too little, just right. You talk about business and you get to know each other on a networking personal basis too. And just kind of follow up on how you're standing, how you're doing, good feedback, take it as feedback, and learning experiences. Okay. Number 5. So let's see. We talked about a lot of people right now are looking into SDR roles, BDR roles, AEs, like those are the big ones, like in tech sales. Those are the only like 3 apparently. There are a lot of other positions in different departments all throughout like a tech sales or cyber sales company. So for example, one is like customer relationship management. It's a big one. I have a good friend of mine that does that. He does very well. So he's kind of really just there to help out when need be, but he definitely understands the sales cycle. He's a master of this stuff. Another thing we talked about, like Ryan Fries, sales engineering, right? You're kind of a mixture of sales meets engineering with metrics and optimization. Something that I'm very passionate about. Again, if you want to look at this, I have a link to Careerist. They have a great boot camp that takes you through it and job placement. Definitely recommend checking that out. But like, for example, look at other ways outside of those three, account executive, BDR, and SDR, that you can actually be kind of layer yourself in the company and tuck in nicely. So for example, look at it like, hey, there's some new people. I'm going to take it upon myself to be, start training them and just show them the ropes, show them some basic stuff. If you do this well and they start doing better, your company might ask you to be a sales trainer. If you're a sales trainer, usually you make more money because of that responsibility. And if you have a team around you, you make commissions on everybody within your team. So these are like little things that you can do to start thinking outside the box on how you can create more money. Obviously, you want to make more commissions. You want to have more volume. You want to have better quality leads. Those are like the obvious ones. But there's other ways of looking outside from the outside in on kind of negotiating a higher salary or have a better skill sets that you can use on down the road that will translate into more money. Okay, so think about those types of things. Number 6, this is the very easy one: work ethic. Okay, law of averages. You've heard the old saying, it's a numbers game. So when we talked about kind of in the beginning, it's about kind of looking at the quality. How can you optimize your system? How can you optimize your approach so you start increasing your closing rate? But you also got to make sure to kind of like pack the pipeline. Okay, there's a lot of lead generation that goes into this. This is a little bit more full cycle style, but you want to make sure that you're actually maximizing the time you have. In Tim Ferriss's book, 4-Hour Work Week, he's a big believer in the 80-20 principle. Actually, I had the book. I just got this from the library, I think 2 days ago. 80-20 principle on marketing and sales. I haven't read it yet, but I know the general principle. I haven't read a book on it, but this is a lot in my master's. But 80-20 principle is that 80% of your sales are going to come from 20% of the clients or the customers. So it's very important, and you can use 80-20 kind of in anything. So when you're looking, you want to make sure that you're understanding where the bulk of kind of your results are coming from. What is the 20% I'm doing that are giving me 80% of the results? What 80%, I'm getting mixed up now, but you get the gist, is looking always at 80-20, and you can use this in anything. What time of the day am I more productive? What leads have the best closing rate, or the best products are closing? What part of my pitch or presentation or demo, which 20% is giving me 80% of the results? So you can really dial this down. But you have to make sure that once you understand what that 20% is, you dig into it. You keep maximizing it. You keep focusing on it and keep expanding on it. So now and you're going to see that's how your success is going to go, like, boom. So I definitely recommend doing due diligence. It's working smart and working hard. And I keep meeting a lot of people that think they're going to be, doing like a few demos a week and making 50,000 a month. And I think I know this is on YouTube, but I think you guys have been listening to too many people selling, I don't know, like ridiculous things. All the people that I know that make incredible money that way work their ass off. So I know it's a little bit of a rant, but they work fucking hard. So you want to make sure you're maximizing your day. And honestly, if you're trying to make like $30,000 to $50,000 a month, you are working, frankly, 60 hours a week. So you can't be afraid of work ethic. You have to be mentally prepared to, like, hey, I'm going to give this a solid 2 to 5 years, and I'm going to put in the time. You're working smart, you're working hard, you're packing the pipeline, and you're trying to fill it out. And if you're not, if you have a lull, sorry, the dog, say you have a lull in kind of sales, that's the time where it's like you're being creative and you're generating ideas on how to create more leads or benefits to the company or improve your skill sets to make more money that way. Okay. All right. So that's enough of that one. Number seven. So we're going to go into a little bit of financial basics, but you need to actually understand your financial situation. The more clarity you have, the more you'll know actually like how many leads you need to generate and how many like commissions you'll create. And I'm just going to give you as a thumbnail sketch is you should understand how much money you're taking in and your overhead expenses. How much is going out? What is your net at the end of the month? You keep the track this weekly, monthly. You need to understand your financial basics as well as like commission structure. Okay, if you sell at certain things, what is the percentage? What is the percentage after taxes? Okay, don't forget about taxes. And then, like, how much do you need to make? So, you want to reverse engineer your numbers and financial basics that way. So, you understand, like, oh man, you know what? If I make two extra sales, is this amount. If I make, and this is really good for just understanding. The more clarity you have, trust me, you're actually going to make more money if you understand your situation. So, understand you got to know the score and you have to know your certain metrics. You want to make sure you have benchmarks, your personal financial situation you need to know, and you want to make sure that you in your company, what is the average sales? What is the top salesperson? What is your net? What is your closing rate? What is the margin? What is the commission structure? How many commissions after taxes? What is the percentage I take home afterward? Do I have enough to live on my overhead at home or family? You need to really take a few hours and dial these numbers in. And if you do, because this is like 90% of people don't do this, you will have a lot more clarity on where you stand. And it's one of those, I know if you haven't done this in a while, it's kind of sucky, but definitely do this. It will relieve tension. And it will actually like help you create more money in the long run. Okay. So let's talk about number 9, elevating your sales skills. Okay. You want to definitely be, I think that life is a continuous journey of learning. I love to learn. You have to be curious. You have to kind of want to understand these things. And I honestly, I would only like, if you're in sales, ideally you like people. I love people. I love socializing. I love also hearing their stories and finding out, how they are the way they are. So this is some of those things in sales where like lead generation, but there's different approaches and methodologies. We talked about spin selling, advanced selling, and consultative selling. You want to make sure that you master an area, okay? And ideally, it's an area that your company, they've seen success in the past. Like, hey, we know that this methodology works, and you become an advocate for that skill. You become a master at that skill. When I jump into an area, like for example, I've talked about biohacking a lot of the times. When I jumped into that, I like for 3 months straight, I am only focused on this one area. Like 80% of my focus when I'm learning stuff is on that area. I'll read all the books, I'll listen to all the podcasts, I'll watch all the videos, I'll talk to people on it. Same thing with selling. If you're jumping into selling, especially when you're initially kind of getting into it or a new industry or area, really jump into it. Get a bunch of books, either from Amazon or go to your local library where it's free and it's fun. Listen to podcasts, listen to videos, talk to people better than you, and learn what they are doing, what's working for them, and then you try those same skills and techniques in the field. Okay, in your process, and you keep track. What's working, what's not working. This is just like the basics there. So you want to make sure you're elevating your skills in that way where you're constantly just fine-tuning, refining, practicing, experiencing, learning what other people's experiences are, what's working and what's not. So always be looking at different methodologies, trying them out for yourself, seeing if this is working within, your scope, as well as if it resonates with you. If you can master this point, it's going to be really, really good. So a lot of this stuff, I'll give you some basics. You need to understand the sales cycle we talked about, understanding the components of the sales funnel. You need to understand certain metrics and KPIs that you should be aware of. You should understand also the basics, right? Sales 101, how to sell yourself first, right? You should understand consultative selling. How do you build rapport and understand the customer's needs? How do you kind of like identify with them, right? And I don't mean like, kissing ass. I mean like genuine concern, interest, and wanting to understand and creating that partnership. So, and also, yeah, not just about pitching. You should understand the basics of pitching, like your 30-second elevator pitch or your sales pitch, but you should also understand the other side of that, which is common communication. Okay. So elevate your sales skills. If you elevate your sales skills, all the other numbers are going to go up. Number 10. Or maybe 8. 9 and 10 are kind of the same thing. So this is a little bit more esoteric, but everybody I know who is, I don't know, making great income, not just in sales, but in all a bunch of areas that I know. And I know friends that are like at least 3 that are fully financially free. They don't have to work ever again, and they have full families. Yeah, they all have families. Actually, I had to think about it. One has 1 kid, one has 2 kids, the other has 5 kids. Um, so they talk about using these techniques, and it's stuff that you've heard. So number one, I definitely recommend reading the book The Secret, which talks about the law of attraction, which talks about how to elevate your energy. Okay. A lot of them, if you watch, there's a great Netflix documentary, Arnold, about Arnold Schwarzenegger. I watched it recently. I watched it like a week or 2 ago, and then I was listening on a business podcast where somebody who I consider a mentor talked about it as well. If you watch Arnold, he basically did this. He would have pictures of what he wanted in his room growing up, and he visualized. So it talks about it kind of in 3 stages. One stage is him being like Mr. Universe. The other one has been an actor. Another one is a politician. Each stage, he would visualize vividly what he wanted to be, and he put himself in that state, and he put himself into those shoes, and he imagined himself on stage, and everybody's like, Arnold, Arnold, yeah. And he also wrote down, he would say certain affirmations. I think he read the book As a Man Thinketh. I think that's the right one. And so he would do basically visualization and affirmations, change his self-image, such a huge thing that, and everything would come true that way. Now, here's the thing. He didn't like live in the dream world. He didn't like, oh, yay. He actually like, he'd visit the dream world and then go into like a daily grind where he'd be working out nonstop. And he knew the metrics, and he knew exactly what he wanted to get there. So that there's that balance there. So this sounds very, I know, like kind of, like, okay, new agey, but try it out. You got nothing to lose. Do some visualization of you as a top earner, visualization as the top salesperson in your company. You're on the leaderboard. You're in the president's club. Write down affirmations morning and evening, right? I'm getting better and better at sales. I'm closing better than ever. I'm the top of my company. Using affirmations like that, and I'll keep it simple, like 1 to 3, morning and evening. Your brain is actually in an alpha state the first 15 minutes where this, and actually funny enough, side thing, kids, we talk about why do kids like learn languages so much more? Kids are actually in an alpha state the first 7 years of their life. Adults, unfortunately, we kind of grow out of that, but we have it in the morning and the evening. And I didn't know this, but I remember this kept happening to me, where I would remember things a lot easier in like high school and college if I taught myself the night before and then reread the same notes that morning. And I found out later through like kind of a lot of like brain studies and psychology studies that was completely true. You remember like the amount of data, it's like 10 times as much you remember. And if you remember it, it's going to change kind of the way you think. And those affirmations can kind of change your self-image, and you have to make your self-image in tune to the vision you're trying to become. So I know I just threw a lot out there, but if you guys can get this, I think it can really, not just sales, but a lot of areas of life can really change and help out. Same thing with money. All the guys I know do these techniques, and they make some pretty impressive lifestyles. The other thing that they do is masterminding. Okay. Now, if you heard of masterminding, I made a few videos on it. Masterminding is really coming together synergistically with positive, like-minded people, and usually in the same area. That can be looked at as a group of friends, a team, a conference, seminars, things like that. So what I would recommend is, besides going to whatever your industry conference is, going to a specific sales conference where some of the top salespeople go to at least once a year. Then also try to surround yourself with people that, especially in your organization, that are on the up and up. They're kind of going toward the leaders boards. Either they're on the leaders board or they're going to the leaders board. If you associate and just have lunch with them, coffee with them on a consistent basis, in a few years, you will be in the exact same position. Okay. I had my bachelor party recently. Went to New Orleans. It was really awesome. And I have all my brother, my best friends around me, and I just was kind of realizing, we're all kind of cut from the same cloth in a lot of ways. Everybody's leading similar lives in different industries, but very similar stuff. My good friend Robbie Shaw, right? He's a master at Google Analytics, and he has his own consulting agency. And he's doing, we've like traveled all around the world together and all this stuff. It's just very fun. But that's like, if you hang out with all these people, like birds of a feather flock together, if you surround yourself with all similar people, you'll become those people. They talk about in personality tests, you're the average of your 5 best friends. And funny enough, in a financial book, I did read your income in 5 years' time will be the average of your 5 best friends. So associating with those people will have profound results, will make you more money. Okay. All right, let's talk about some bonus tips. So another thing too, bonus tip. This is just some financial skills that I would recommend that you can use that I've been using. So number one, all the boot camps, education, certification, things like that can actually be tax deductible. It can be tax write-ups. If you put yourself on your tax forms as a sole proprietorship or LLC, these are things to help you with your business. They can be tax write-off. Okay, so something to consider. I do a lot of trainings. I make sure that it's like this tax write-offs because it's assets that I'm investing in to make myself better. The other thing is that something I recommend is actually the Chase Rewards card. And I was we talked with my friends. We were all talking about we got to get points. All the things that I spend on a monthly amount, I put on the Chase card, and all the education stuff I put on the Chase card. I make sure to pay off your credit card every month. By the way, do not get into financial debt. Don't do it. Okay, pay it off every single month. Okay, only spend what you can afford, and that's in your margin. But all those things rack up to points, and all the points actually allow you to get, occasionally a free trip somewhere. You get a free trip, maybe to, a new flight, new vacation, a new hotel. So it's a really good little strategy that I think a lot, I talk to people and not a lot of people do it. It's not like a secret, but not a lot of people do it. So use points, all those little things you can reinvest in. Sorry, dog. Anyway, so I hope this was helpful. Also, I'll include a link. If you get the Chase Rewards card, you can get I think 15,000 free points if you use that link. So I definitely recommend it. Also, again, if you need some free resumes, negotiation advice, feel free to check out the link below. I hope this has been helpful. This is a little bit of a general thing. I just thought it would be nice to talk about a few of these things. To really understand this, to kind of backtrack, entrepreneur versus intrapreneur, understanding your sales cycle, understand follow-up, know the 80-20 rule, right? You still need to law of averages. You still need to go and kind of pack the pipeline, but you want to work smart. You understand what's ticking, what's working. You're constantly building up your skill sets and trying these out on what's working. You find out other skill sets that other people are using and adapt them into your own. You focus on one at a time, by the way, and you want to make sure that you're solidifying. I would definitely initially, you're trying to change yourself, kind of mind and skill set. Mind, we talked about that, masterminding, visualization, affirmations. I think that's really good for your mind, creating the self-image of the person you want to become. And then with skill sets, looking at the other things that you can be. Okay, we talk about sales engineering, customer relationship management, lead generation. Okay, and then also financially afterward, you have to understand kind of at the end of the day, taxes. What is your net? What is how much income you're bringing? How much is outgoing? Little ways that you can actually save money or reinvest. If you're going to reinvest, kind of 4 areas I would recommend. Real estate's ideal, but if you can't do that, do into crypto or precious metals or index or mutual funds. It's probably the best way. And you want to be setting aside ideally 10 to 15%, I think, a month for that. And if you do that, I was just reading Oh, it's right here. Perfect. The Dave Ramsey book. I was reading the Dave Ramsey book where he talks about the baby steps. It's very good. He talks about 15% going into your retirement account. If you start investing like $200 a month, like at my age, I'm 35, then by 65, I'll have 1.5 million if you do it correctly. So little things like that will make a huge amount of difference. So hope this has been helpful. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about anything. Sorry, just going off on one. I can't really like retreat. So feel free to reach out. Check out the links below for all the materials we talked about, all the helpful hints. And guys, I hope you guys crush it. Hope this year you make it this year your best year. I got a half Ironman I got to do on Sunday, and I got my wedding in a month. So already my year is pretty awesome. So catch you guys later. Talk to you soon. Have a good one.